Hello, dear one. What are three laws of the universe? So today I'll be talking about three universal laws as they are given through the Conversations of God series and how they relate to the soul's journey. So what are these three laws? The first law is thought is creative. The second law is fear attracts like energy. And the third law is love is all there is. So how do these relate to the soul's journey? Actually, first, let me take a step back. If you're not familiar with this concept of universal laws, they are quite liberating. Essentially, these are fundamental laws of existence. They are more metaphysical than physical. That's not to say that there aren't physics involved, but it's the understanding of these universal laws for myself that really helped me to make sense of reality in this human journey. Because for me, if there was a creator or a God that truly loved human beings and all that is, then it didn't make sense to me that some laws applied to other people and not some people. So these, like gravity, for example, is physics, right? Doesn't matter if you believe in it or not, physics is a thing. And gravity is a thing. And we're all anchored onto this planet by gravity. And you don't have to believe in it. So to me, that's how I kind of look at universal laws. It's like these principles of life that makes the human journey work, whether you believe it or not, because that's intelligent design. So, so these three laws and how they relate to the soul's journey. So let's kind of talk about the soul's journey. So for me, the soul's journey is a soul takes up a human body and it forgets who it is. And there's a lot of conversation around why we do this, but essentially it's so we can have the experience of remembering. It's that simple. We come into this physical plane of existence that is a relative plane of existence, and we forget who we are so we can remember who we are, because that experience of remembering is kind of the punchline of it all. But how do these laws relate to this journey? So as we come into this reality, we come in as children. And as children, we come into forgetfulness. And this forgetfulness is kind of like what everything is pointing at in spiritual practices, to help us come to this understanding, what I like to call a realization of what it means to be who we truly are. So we come in as children, and as children, we're not really equipped with the rules of our cultures, of society, of physics, of all of this kind of stuff. And we don't really have a great understanding of how this world works from a human perspective. And this is a blanket of darkness or ignorance that I kind of talk about. And so we come in and this blanket comes over us because it would give away our authority of our nature, of our true essence, of our true existence. And so we go through this process of what I feel like is, we go through some, we'll call it wounding. And through this wounding, we create beliefs about ourselves. So for example, we might, as a child, feel like we don't receive love unless we are significant, unless we do something that means something to our parents or our peers. And when we do those things, we get praise for it. And that's when the belief starts to solidify that, oh, in order for me to be loved, I have to do significant things. And this could be with acceptance, and it could be with approval. Like, people won't accept me unless I act this way, right? And that's the authority, that's that blanket of ignorance that is giving the power away to the external world outside of ourselves. So we go through this wounding, and I talked about how the soul is here so it can remember who it is. So the first law is in the universe, our universe, is thought is creative. What does this essentially mean? It means that we create the experience of our reality through thought. I'm going to repeat that again. We create the experience of our reality through thought. Thought is creative. Maybe you've heard the expression, what you think about comes about. It's that simple. Again, I'll say it one more time. It's very important how I said it. Thought creates the experience of our individual reality, right? So these thoughts, oh, I have to do this thing to be accepted, or I have to perform, I have to be significant to feel love. Those thoughts then create patterns within the body and the mind. It's all one thing. And then that creates behavior, right? And so that thought really is creative as it forms our life experience through a specific lens. So the next one is fear attracts like energy. This one's actually really important. I'm going to come back to it. There's no particular order in which these are, but love is all there is. So I'll skip to the third one first. So love is all there is, and this is for me. It was very, very hard to look at the shape of the world and go, really, love is all there is, until I really started to understand the universal laws and metaphysics that govern this human experience that aren't made by man. And if love is all that is, that means the soul is love, because that's all there is. The soul's journey is just a journey of love. And so we come into this world as pure love and pure joy. Anybody who's held a baby can say that's obviously so, because they are just pure love and joy, because they haven't had the blanket of ignorance, the blanket of fear, the blanket of conditioning put over their consciousness. They haven't given away their authority to the outside world yet, aka the parents and the family and the social structures and ideas, because they just don't have the cognitive process to do that. And the cognitive process, or the physical body and all the beauty that it comes with it, is that blanket of darkness. And it is also the liberator. So I'm not demonizing physicality. In fact, it's actually quite a blessing to be in a physical body. And so we have thought is creative and love is all there is. So if love is all there is, that was very hard for me to capture without having a really broad understanding and detailed understanding of how this all works. Leads us to fear attracts like energy. So that one, if you haven't heard before, many of us have heard of the law of attraction. This takes this into a different realm, because what it's specifically saying is not what you think about comes about, but it's saying fear itself attracts like energy, and fear is the opposite of love. So this is really important to understand, because as we're children and we're growing and we're developing and we're having experiences and we're telling stories and we're getting new identities and, trying to fulfill all these dreams with thought, those thoughts lead to incorrect thinking, right? I'll go back to the first example. Significance. If I don't do significant things, my parents won't love me. My peers won't love me. That is a fear-based thought, and it's not based in truth. But as a child, we don't know these things because we have this blanket over us, right? And so because that becomes a belief, right? Fear is then embedded through thought into the body and patterned. And this is the behavior that repeats itself for some people literally their entire life, up into their 80s or 90s. And they're stuck in this pattern of fear. Maybe it sounds familiar, maybe it's you, maybe you can think of somebody who you know is just kind of an achiever, because that's the only way they kind of can feel love. And it's not out of, it's ignorance, that is the ignorance of the true self, right? And everybody's doing this. There is not a single one of us who isn't doing this to some capacity with any of these core wounds that we can come with, or core fears. So the fear itself is, if I don't do these things, I'm afraid I won't be loved. So what happens then is, when I don't perform, when I'm not significant enough, that's the fear, then bad things happen to me and I'm not loved. And I feel alone, I feel miserable, I feel abandoned. Whatever those feelings come up is because of fear. So this fear that's rooted deep in the person is actually the thing that is attracting things to it. It's attracting situations to the person that creates the opportunity so they can experience themselves as love, complete love. And this is so personal and so relative to each individual. It's so unique because we all have different experiences and different lenses to look through the world. Conceptually, it's universal, but experientially, it's experienced different because, like I like to say, all the window dressing of the experience looks the same, but underneath, right, it would be fear creating a situation where a person has the opportunity to experience themselves as love because they are all that is, and that is love. And so these three universal laws fit right into with like our psychology, or children's psychology, and developmental psychology, and depth psychology, and the inner workings of our thoughts, our emotions, our imagination, all these internal things that are invisible. These universal laws really are the big levers or gears that make everything kind of spin for us to have experience. So the opportunity here is to understand that thought is creative, right? To any degree. It could be just the thought, or it can actually turn into like a giant empire physically, right? Like, so a thought or a belief can create an entire nation. And fear attracts like energy. So if the core or the root thought or belief or desire is rooted in fear, it's not rooted in truth. And that's when we build an empire, or we build and create a self or a self-image on top of falsehood. And the opportunity is when there's the experience of fear, of destitution or aloneness or destruction or harm of self or others. Like, all these things are just opportunities to turn around and look and experience the truth of the matter, and to see that the truth is, this was all built on a lie. It was built on a falsehood. And there, once you start to see this pattern, you can look at all sorts of things, from the self all the way up to the family unit, or you could just go with a couple, right? And then a family unit, and then a town, a village, an institution, a government, a nation. All of these patterns that are fear-based create the outcomes. And the outcomes, as in the experience of the fear coming true, is what is there to liberate the falsehood, right? It's just an opportunity to think again, or to question or examine what is happening internally, so we as humans can experience love being all there is, which is us, right? Just like holding that baby, there is nothing but love there. And that is you, right? That is the soul's essence emanating out of this little tiny physical creature that is defenseless and can't help itself. But it can't help itself but to love everything around it, right? And that is the essence and truth of our nature. And so I give these to you. Thought is creative, fear attracts like energy, and love is all there is because we come into this world, we blanket ourselves with fear or forgetfulness or ignorance. So we have the opportunity to experience truth, which is love. Who am I? What is my essence? What is not the story, the storyteller, the experience or the experiencer? What is behind all of that? That is the truth of all things, which is love is all there is. And I'm an expression of this, right? And so these laws are beautiful when coupled with the human journey and what I believe we're here to do, and that's to determine who am I, right? Who are you? Who am I? What is at the core of all of that? And there's a zillion ways to get there, and these laws help us to make sure we get there, whether it's in this lifetime or another. And they don't just govern the human itself, they govern anything the human creates because it comes from human belief systems. Like all of our structures that are our institutions, our religions, our governments, all these things are actually just human thought made manifest, right? And so at the core, they're human themselves. And so these principles work because they're not outside of, they're not separate from human creation. We are creation machines made of love. So I hope you get a lot of that. I hope maybe perhaps you can start to see yourself and how you think, or maybe the world or the constructs around you, how you can look at what their core beliefs are, how they function, what situations they find themselves in, to have the opportunity to present themselves as love and to know the truth of themselves, right? Of any type of organized intelligence that is human-centric. So I leave you with that this month, and may you be blessed.